This is the current progress of my Honda CB250 rebuild.
Thing is, it was a proper rust bucket when I bought it.
This is the actual tax disc removed from the bike, 1986.
The poor thing had been left to die, completely unloved for so many years.
That was until I found it. I've stripped the whole bike down, I've cleaned it, polished it, and I've repainted so many parts. And now in this upload, we're gonna finally get this bike back together, and hopefully by the end of it, we're gonna have this engine in the frame running. So we might have another problem. Give me a break. So things just keep getting worse, don't they? One snap, the last one. Always the last one. Oh, and once we have this bike running, I'll need to make sure that the bike is insured, because we're going to ride it, which is why I'm very lucky to say I'm collaborating with Bikesure.
Bikesure can cover all sorts of bikes, from standard through to unusual circumstances. Bikesure can insure the individual and tailor the quotes to the individual's needs. Bikesure provided coverage on my last rebuild, a Yamaha Thunder Race, and they also offer multi-bike policies too.
Bikesure will be perfect when it comes to insuring this Super Dream, because do you know what? I cannot wait to take me and my girlfriend on a nice little road trip once this Super Dream is ready. So, if you want to see that upload, be sure to subscribe and give Bikesure a call to see what they can do for you. Thank you, Bikesure, for sponsoring this video. Now, how about you sit back, relax, as we put this bike back together.
Now annoyingly, I may have made a slight error by fitting the shocks and swing arm before installing the airbox. I'm going to try and see if I can squeeze it in by removing as little as possible. But with the wheel removed, it clearly doesn't go. So let's whip off the shock. Close, but still not having it. There we go, now it fits. Airbox in, shocks back on, and wheel installed. We now need to fit the wiring loop.
Next up, I need to install this engine. And to give me a helping hand with said engine, look who I've drafted in.
I know you love to see the girlfriend lend a hand and show me how it's done, so here she is. I sometimes wonder what I would do without her. She makes sure I can finish these bikes and loves to have an input when needed. Also, this engine lift is a game changer. It allows you just to make precise little movements when lining up the engine mounts. And the girlfriend obviously does the honours.
I've just remembered something. There's a little bit of a design flaw that's caught me out once again. This bolt that's going through the frame, you can see, will not go through the frame unless I remove. And I did mention this when I was stripping the bike down. It's a bit of a surprise given that it's a Honda. So I think what we'll do is we'll just get this bottom bolt in first, and then I can hook up the top bolt and I'll sort that out afterwards.
I feel like it's just gonna go wrong.
So much positivity. So go on then, I'm gonna let you proceed. Look at that. Look at it. Absolute professional, mate. You right there, son? You enjoying this? And you're bored, aren't you?
Easy.
Right, there we go. Obviously, I've still got to do the bolts up, torque everything up, but I think the next thing to do is get the carbs on. Now, the carburetors I have serviced. I've pulled them apart, replaced the jets, I've put the carbs through a sonic cleaner, I've put carb cleaner through them, and yeah, painted some of the parts. So they're looking quite fresh.
I should mention these carbs are the first carbs I have ever rebuilt. I suspect once the bike is running, they will need to be balanced and set up. Now I need to fit the painted rear mudguard because this holds in the airbox too. And the airbox obviously needs to be hooked up to the carbs. And since the airbox is nicely in place, I can install the regulator unit as part of the wiring loom I have just installed. This is the regulator all hooked up to the wiring loom.
Also, if you're wondering how I'm figuring out what goes where, I'm not just doing it all from memory. In fact, I have been referring on many occasions to this handy workshop manual, which I downloaded from a website called eManual Online. I'll leave links for that website in the description. This manual lets me know how the bike comes apart. It gives me instructions as to how it all goes back together again. So I've been using it on many occasions and I don't know what I'll do without it. So yeah, if you check those guys out, I'll leave a referral link too, which will give you up to 22% off any motorcycle workshop manual you need. Now then, do you remember those chrome parts I didn't quite know what I was going to do with?
These rusty chrome parts, to be precise.
Well, earlier today, I picked them up. That's because I've had them powder coated. Check out these results then. I've gone for a gloss black on this luggage rail, whereas things like the crash protection bars, I've gone for a satin black. And you're going to be asking, why did I not have them chrome replated? Now let me tell you why. Chrome replating costs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and millions of pounds. So for £75, I've had all of these parts painted. So yeah, sorry to some of you who are hoping that this is going to be a complete sort of OEM looking Honda Super Dream. It's going to be a Bikes of Rye looking Honda Super Dream. Wait till it's finished. I'm sure you'll like it.
I am considering getting my own little kit to try and chrome plate myself. It is certainly something I'll look into in the future, especially if I want to work on more and more older bikes, which of course I would love to. But for now, I genuinely feel these powder coated results will really tie in nicely with the rest of this bike, and besides, we still have chrome on display in other areas of the bike.
Now then, I'm kind of at a point as to what to do next, and I'm thinking maybe I should start putting together, you know, the handlebars, switchgear, dash, all that good stuff, the headlight and whatnot. Yeah, I'm going to do that next.
So the headlight bucket goes on first, and for now I just tighten up the bolts hand tight. Then it's on with the handlebars next, another item that was powder coated, and with the handlebars set up and bolted down, I can now look at installing all the switchgear.
I looked at this choke cable. A feeling of nostalgia came over me because when I was a little boy, sat in my parents' car, I used to recall them having to pull this out to start the car, I suppose, when it was cold. So I'd be sat there in a Mark 1 Fiesta or a Mini Maestro, and I remember them pulling this thing that I thought was an N. But of course, it resembles, well, I don't know what it resembles actually. But yeah, cool, love that.
I cannot wait to use this choke cable to start the bike up for the very first time. Be sure to stick around for that. Now we can fit the throttle tube and right hand switch gear, as well as the left hand switch gear. Then it's on with the dash. And check this out, the bike has only covered around 10,000 miles, which is nothing.
Okay, next up for the handlebars is going to be the front brake master cylinder. Now I've painted this and it's looking very good for it. This finish is enamel, so it should be hard wearing, and I have to say it's looking very OEM indeed. Also, I've got the brake master cylinder rebuild kit, including a brake light switch as well. But I do want to mention something, and that is this front brake caliper. Now in previous uploads you've seen me or witnessed me fail at removing that piston. I've put forced air behind it, or basically compressed air with my air compressor. I've tried to heat the caliper up. I've left it to soak for days on end, and it all just seems to fail. So once this caliper is back together again, my plan is to bleed this caliper and hope that the hydraulic fluid will force the piston out. But in the meantime, let's rebuild this.
The rebuild kit came with new rubber seals, spring, piston and circlip. Before I installed this kit, I did make sure to clean out the reservoir, as I did have it in the sandblaster and obviously painted it. I do see a lot of CB250 Super Dreams with aftermarket master cylinders, so it's nice to be able to save one. We will come back to bleeding that caliper at a later stage, so for now, we'll just make sure that the master cylinder is mounted onto the handlebars, along with a new front brake lever and a greased up pin, as well as a clutch lever too.
Okay, so the front end has come together quite nicely. I've plugged the cables in, and also I've mounted the indicators. But I must say that I'm kind of going about this rebuild in sort of a little bit of an awkward manner, because maybe I should consider that I still need to mount the engine up properly, and also I need to consider installing the exhaust system. So let's do that next.
With the front mount of the engine in place, we need to consider that this particular bike came with what seem to be very rare crash bars. I could have just avoided putting these back on, but I reckon they will make this Super Dream extra special.
Right, in this box and this box, and also this box, there is a full exhaust system. Okay, so we have some headers. We have one centre box, which I actually got a little bit of a discount on because when it arrived, there was some damage. Chrome looking tailpipes. Oh yes.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
The original system was actually, do you know what? Let me show you what the original system looks like. I've still got it. There you go. That was the original. Oh, and before I forget, why don't I put the starter motor on? Because starter motor goes exactly there.
The starter motor is looking great all polished up. but it has to be in the worst place on the bike, directly behind the front wheel. This is the starter motor lead, which hooks onto a little nut.
Right, so for the past 10 minutes, I've been scratching my head, trying to figure out what is going wrong. Let me explain. So the header pipes here, the new ones, trying to hook them up to the bike, clanging away, not quite going on. So of course, I'm trying both sides, no luck. So I thought, well, how about I use the old ones and just see if they hook up? Maybe I've got the wrong exhaust system. Nope, not fitting. And just double check this one, also not fitting. So I'm there going, what's going on? What's going wrong? Why is it not lining up? Well, let me tell you why. This crash bar, all right, I was thinking maybe I need to remove it, then fit the header pipes and reinstall it. No. Basically, that is upside down. And there we go, crash bars the right way around.
So, with the header pipe in situ, I apply a little copper ease to the exhaust studs and provisionally tighten up the nuts to take the weight.
Now then, when I received this centre box, it arrived a little damaged. Look at that. So I made a little complaint and they kindly gave me £20 off. So I kept it because I think it's an easy fix. So we're going to try and fix that now.
It was also the last one in stock, and so given the damage and where it's located, shouldn't be a problem.
Sometimes it's a bonus when you receive an item damaged, because that took me all of 30 seconds, and I got it for £20 off.
Once the clamp is on and tight, then we'll do the rest. Though as I'm trying to install the centre box of the headers, things don't seem to be right.
Might have a little bit of a roadblock because this gasket, well, it was brand new a minute ago, doesn't look it anymore. So what's going wrong? Well, this header pipe is not true to spec of the original header pipe. Let me show you. Try and do this one-handed. Right, so it should be going on here like this. Look how nicely that fits. That isn't the case for my new headers.
So to get around this, I thought about using exhaust sealing paste in copious amounts. And with the gasket pushed down onto the centre box, maybe I could get it to squeeze on this way.
This is not going according to plan. Always happens with Bikes of Rye. You can always guarantee it. That brand new exhaust system is letting me down. I don't know what to do. I hate having to borderline bodge stuff.
With the headers removed and on my bench, I used another new gasket and slid the header pipe into the centre box this way. And with much patience and gentle persuasion, I was able to coax the header pipe into the gasket.
So things just keep getting worse, don't they? I love this process. I love it. Guess what I've done? What's missing? What's missing? Yeah, the header clamps. These little beauties. These are missing. You see these? They're supposed to be on there, but now I can't fit them. You know, I can't fit these little things. Oh, sometimes I just want to break something. I want to break something. What can I break? Maybe I can just break this exhaust, the brand new exhaust system. I mean, it's half broken anyway, so I might as well continue breaking it. As I've pulled this header pipe out, I was expecting the gasket to fall to pieces, but it actually looks all right.
I'm shocked we are able to proceed. Makes a change for once. So let's get these header pipes and centre box attached to the bike.
We've got the header pipes on, and the centre box, we can see that the bolt's going to line up there. And also on the other side, I've slaved that bolt on there to secure the centre box. Now, as to whether or not this is going to leak, who knows? But we will find out, because we are still yet to hit the starter button, which is going to come in this upload. We're going to make a first start attempt. This bike is going to be running. So we will find out whether or not it leaks. Right, now I've got the joy of trying to remove these crusty exhaust hanging brackets. Wish me luck.
These tailpipes were clearly beyond economical repair. I really did want to salvage as much as possible on this bike, but these tailpipes and centre box, they were in a bad way.
One snap, the last one. Always the last one, but it doesn't matter because the new exhaust has got the thread on it, so no worries. I don't mind on this occasion.
We will also need this chrome heat shield too.
Okay, so I've got a good amount of parts here that are going to need repainting. This is part of the exhaust system, which you just seen me remove. However, these items here, look at the state of them. Very rusty, definitely need repainting, but these are the rider and pillion foot pegs. So in the sandblaster we'll go and then give them a good paint.
In the sandblaster they go, all stacked up, and I get to work removing the paint and rust. And these are the results.
Sandblasting is brilliant and it's very effective, but it does take a while. And with the parts all hanging up there nicely, I'm now going to go over them and primer them and then gloss black them. So we might have another problem. While these parts have been drying away, I have gone ahead and installed the throttle cables and the clutch cable. Now the clutch cable, something's not quite right. Let me show you. So if I pull the clutch, you can see it operates. However, if I let go of the clutch, it does not return. I have to physically push the clutch lever out. Need to investigate. All right, there we have it. The foot pegs painted up and put back together again, along with the kick plates, which are all polished up. So let's get these bad boys back on the bike.
We are now ever so close to a first start, so I want to whip through getting these foot pegs, kick plate, along with the gear peg and rear brake all attached to the bike. So it's one less thing to worry about a bit later.
All right, another minor issue, and that is with this brake pedal. Now, when I installed it, I went to operate the brake pedal and it wasn't working correctly because this collar is seized solid. So I don't fancy doing that in this upload. I'm going to leave that for another one where I attack that front brake caliper piston. I think what we need to do next is focus on getting this Honda Super Dream started. That's what we want to know. Does it run? So let's crack on with doing that.
On we go with a new oil filter, then it's new spark plugs, which I'm sure to check the gap using my feeler gauge. I also fit new HT caps too. We also have a brand new battery. And then it's finally time to add some engine oil. We'll add 2 litres for now, as recommended, and then at a later stage, if need be, I'll top up before the first ride.
All right, so we're almost there. I want to firstly see if the bike will turn over. The wiring loom I'm hoping is correct. I'm sure it is. There's only one way to find out, and that is to put this little key into the ignition and see if we get any life. I'm going to hit the starter button and see if the engine will turn over. And it's not such a bad thing to turn the bike over before feeding it any fuel, because at least that fresh oil can start to circulate the engine. Let's do it. We have lights. That is life. Let's hold it on for about 5 seconds. Oh baby, now we need to feed it some fuel. So this fuel tank obviously still needs to be sprayed. So rather than stick that fuel tank on the bike, I'm going to turn to this CL125 tank because it's just light and I can throw it on the bike for the time being. Now then, before I go ahead and try and start the Super Dream, I just want to take a moment to thank those of you who support me via Patreon. As a Patreon member, you already know that I love to give selected project bikes away that feature on this channel. So I want to state for the record, once this Honda Super Dream is ready, one of my lucky Patreon supporters will be winning this bike. So if you'd like to help support Bikes of Rye and this journey of mine, then all you need to do is simply follow this link and you will be in with a chance of winning bikes as well. Thank you all so much. Let's get on with this first start. We have the CL125 tank in position. I'm about to turn the fuel tap on to send some premium unleaded through that line into those rebuilt carburetors. There we go. It's flowing lovely. Okay, so that's not a good sign. We have fuel leaking. Oh dear.
Yep, these rebuilds never go smoothly, do they?
So it's the following day and I had to come away from the bike because, yeah, I was going to lose it. So, one pair of carbs. Let's see what is going wrong. Okay, so let's have a look. I'm going to lift off the float bowls. The floats are operating freely. Also, these float needles, there is absolutely zero resistance. Now also, what I can do is to check that these float needles are sealing correctly. I'm going to blow in here, and this is where the fuel travels. It travels down into the float bowl via that float needle, and also along that pipe into the other float bowl. So, if I hold those float needles in place and try and blow through this pipe, there should be no air coming out. Right, I think I know what is going on. Now, you know, as I mentioned, I rebuilt these carbs. It seems that the new float needle is shorter than the one that came out of the carbs. On the right-hand side here, I've got the original float needle that came out of the carbs, and this one is the new float needle. Now, when I place them side by side, what I have noticed is that the new float needle is slightly shorter than the original. So I am thinking that when the float bowls try to shut off the fuel, it's not pressing this float needle deep enough into the carb to create a seal to prevent any fuel from entering the float bowl. There's only one way to find out. Let's see if the old float needles will create a good enough seal, because maybe we can reuse them. All right, so old float needles being held in by my thumbs, and they're creating a seal. All right, we've hooked it back up again. Second time lucky. Okay, I'm gonna let it fill up. If it does leak, I don't want it to go everywhere. Let's add some more fuel. Oh, this is looking promising. No! No. Okay, interesting. I've just learnt something, and I think this is very valuable for the future rebuilds, because I've learnt that you can actually adjust the float level. I've been using these vernier calipers and essentially measuring the distance between the float and the edge of the carb. And what you do is you get your 15.5 mil. So obviously I'm trying to do it one-handed, but you get the gist. I have adjusted that little tongue. There's a little tongue there, right there. So, third time lucky. Let's see what we're saying. Oh. So the fuel tank's all plugged in, and I'm happy to report we have 0 leaks from those float bowls. So with fuel in those carburetors, there's only one more thing to do. And look who I've asked to come back to give me a hand. The girlfriend has returned. Now bear in mind, this bike was last MOT'd and taxed in 1986. And we're gonna try and get it running. Oh, I'm a little bit nervous, as I always am when it comes to these rebuilds, because I don't know what to expect. All right, so we'll pull this choke out. There is the start button.
Yeah.
So, you ready? It might be quite loud, by the way. I'm ready. Are you ready? Go for it. It actually started. Oh, you didn't like that, did you? Oh, was that too loud? Oh, wow. It ran. It actually started. So that is unbelievable. I cannot believe the bike started after so many years, and I'm so happy it actually runs. But of course, the whole bike needs to be completely set up. We need to balance those carbs. I need to fit the silencers. I still need to fit all of the fairing, and I think that's going to be a job for another day. So I want to say thank you all so very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one real soon. See you later.